Okay, we're going to continue on with the next part of this problem. What are the mass of the excess reagents when I take 2.5 grams of silver, 0.48 grams of H2S, 0.16 grams of O2? And we calculated previously that if the oxygen was the limiting reagent, and now I want to know how much silver is left over, how much H2S is left over. So the excess mass of the silver, Ag, is equal to the mass initial minus the mass consumed by the complete consumption of the limiting reagent. Now we started with 2.4 grams of silver. So that's how much we started with. Now, this number 0.005 represents how much of the oxygen, it represents up to the stoichiometric step the consumption of the limiting reagent. That is, I started with 0.16 grams of O2. I knew that it was 32.0 grams per mole of O2. And then I divided by 1 mole of O2, the coefficient, and that number was the smallest. This is the limiting reagent. Now I want to know how much silver was consumed when 0.16 grams of this was used. So I can now simply multiply, but this number is the 0.005. So I subtract 0.005, and now I know that there's 4 moles of silver produced, which would be 4 moles of silver here. Okay, and then I know that silver has a molar mass of 107.9 grams per mole of silver. And now if I take my 0.005, multiply by 4, multiply by 107.9, I get 2.4 minus 2.158, which equals 0.242 grams of silver left over. But this is only known to the tenths. Therefore, this can only be known to the tenths, so it's 0.2 grams of silver. Now, I hope you recognize that by using this 0.005, I was taking the 16 divided by the 32 divided by the 1. I then multiplied that by the 4 and multiplied that by the 107.9 grams of silver per mole. Now, let's very quickly calculate the excess mass of the H2S. Okay? So the excess mass is the mass initial minus the mass consumed. So this is the excess H2S. Okay? So I started with 0.48 grams. I go to my stoichiometric step, and in the consumption of 0.16 grams of silver, I have 0.005. Now that's this step right here. But now I'm multiplying by 2 moles of H2S, and I'm multiplying by the molar mass of H2S, which is 34.0 grams per mole of H2S. And this gives me 0.48 minus 0.34 grams, which is equal to 0.14 grams. So in summary, take the mass of each substance, divide by its formula weight, divide by the coefficient. That gets you to this far in your equation. Then multiply by the coefficient of the species you're after. If I wanted to know how much water was produced, I would have taken 0.005 and multiplied by 2 and multiplied by its mass. If I wanted to know how much H2S was consumed, I would multiply by its coefficient and multiply by its molar mass. And then the excess would be the amount I started with minus the amount consumed through the complete consumption of the limiting reagent.